Hello and welcome back to Rising Strings Academy. What is the difference between a scale and mode? Are they the same thing? Modes in music are interesting and a complex topic for everyone who really wants to understand how music works. It's fascinating how the same group of notes can create completely different feelings. It depends on how they are used. In classical training, we learn scales as a fixed system, major scales and minor scales. A scale is a sequence of notes organized around a tonic, but more importantly, it is a system of interval relationships. Let's listen to a C major scale. This tells the ear where home is. But here is the important shift. A mode uses the same notes, but recognize how they function. So instead of new material, we get new perspective. Modes were much more common in early classical music. They were used in church music, chants and hymns. But they didn't disappear. They still exist today. You just have to know where to find them and where to listen. I have been practicing scales and arpeggios almost every day in my life for more than 40 years. I believed I'd understood harmony, but when I started learning jazz, I realized something uncomfortable. There was a part of music theory that I thought I knew, but I didn't. That was the modes. Not because they are complicated, but because nobody explained it to me so well. Let's simplify everything. If you take a major scale and start it from a different note, but keep the same pitches, you create a mode. So let's take C major scale. This scale is also called a Ionian scale. And if we start from D, that will be the Dorian scale. And if we start from E, that's Phrygian. If we start from F, that's Lydian. And G, that's Mixolydian. And then you start from A, that's Aeolian. And then we start from B, and this is how we created 7 different modes, just using the C major scale. So each scale degree creates its own mode, and this creates its own emotional world. So let's start with C major, which is the Ionian scale, and it has C major 7, 9, 11 and 13. And Ionian is the major scale. It sounds complete. And then we go on and play the C major scale, but we start from D. And D becomes a home for this sound now. So if we think about chords, it will be D minor 7 with 9, 11 and 13, or also Dorian. And Dorian is a minor, but with a raised sixth. So this is the specific note that you want to listen to. And I would choose to play a Billie Jean just as an example. So I always have a song in my mind that reminds me of the modes so that I can create something familiar in my mind. Now let's go to the next one. We will begin from E. Or a Phrygian scale, which has a chord E minor 7 flat 9. So the second degree of the scale is very interesting, creating this unique sound. I'm thinking about flamenco music, and that helps me to memorize this specific sound. But you can also think about the Caravan by the Doors. That half step at the beginning creates immediate tension, and this is how we usually remember this scale. And then we have Lydian, which starts from F, and the chord is F major 7 plus 11. So Lydian is a major scale with a raised fourth, and it starts from F. And I usually think about Simpson, the melody from the animation movie Simpson, to make myself remember the characteristic sound of the Lydian. It feels somehow open and floating, almost like unresolved, but in a beautiful way. And then we have Mixolydian from G, where G becomes the center, and the chord is G major 7 plus 9, 11 and 13. And the Mixolydian is a major scale with a flat 7. And it sounds like this. Somehow you have to remember the 7th, which is very interesting because it's flat. As example, you can think about Sweet Home Alabama or Norwegian Wood of Beatles or Lordi's Royal. It sounds grounded but not fully resolved somehow. And then we have Aeolian, which starts from A. The A will be the center and the chord will be A minor 7. This is like a natural minor. It sounds like this. As example, you can use Smells Like Teen Spirit or Losing My Religion, if you know these songs. And it sounds a little bit sad. And then we have Locrian, which starts from B, and B becomes the center. And the chord is a B minor 7 flat 5. So Locrian sounds quite unstable. Example, you can think of Army of Me by Björk or Sad But True by Metallica, and it's really used as a main system. It's more theoretical than practical scale. So we have same notes with 7 different centers and 7 completely different emotional scales. Each mode is not just a scale, it is already a harmonic system. It has a chord and extension, which are very, very important part of it. And each mode contains 1, 3, 5, 7 degree, and the extension is 9, 11 and 13. So these define the color of the mode. Don't practice the modes like scales, practice like this. Have a drawn note as a center that shows your mode and stay on the important note. Let your ear adjust. I would practice by having the C as a drum note, and then I will practice the rest of the modes on the top of C so that I can constantly hear the first grade of the scale. That helps me. Also, what helps me is to try to improvise with all of these scales, to play it as a scale, but also change the notes and play it wherever it fits on your instrument, so that you find some kind of a melodic improvisation. For example, let's take the Dorian, which was the second one, and we played it from D, so... You can play it as a scale and then try to remember if the mode is in major or minor, and this specific one was in minor, so that can help. And then you can also have the reference of the song that you choose. I chose Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. Try to improvise on this one, like by using these notes, but not as a scale, just different places, like something like this. It didn't sound pretty, but it's just an exercise. You slowly start to find beautiful melodies. It just gives you information on how you can improvise on chords. You would be able to analyze a certain piece of music which has only chords. And by looking at the chords, you can actually analyze and see if this scale-specific mode would fit, or which mode would fit on which chord, which is a very important information if you want to have more tools for improvising. If this video was helpful, please subscribe and hit the like button. Share it with a friend or tell someone else what you learned today, because as I've been told, teaching something to someone else helps you to learn it twice. See you in my next video.